I'm Alyssa Dunn, 26, and for the past 3 years my life has been swallowed by raising my sister Cheryl's 4 kids as if they were my own. When my bakery collapsed, I thought moving in with her would be a fresh start, but instead I became her unpaid nanny, juggling school runs, meals, homework, and constant chaos while scraping by on a part-time coffee shop job and midnight graphic design classes. Every morning began in bedlam, Logan blasting music, Ellie shouting about Pop-Tarts, Hunter spilling juice, Nora clinging to my leg, and by the time I dropped them off at school, I was already exhausted. At work I forced smiles for cranky customers at $15 an hour, barely enough to cover gas, before returning home to cook, clean, and break up another round of fights. Cheryl and her boyfriend Blake floated in and out, working night shifts or lounging while I carried everything. At night, I opened my laptop for design tutorials, but my eyes burned, my mind fogged, and I'd wake to a dead battery. Ellie once asked why I looked so tired, and I forced a smile, but inside I wondered why my life had become a prison built of their needs. My savings dwindled, $3,000 drained into school supplies, doctor visits, asthma meds, while Cheryl brushed it off with a breezy, "You're so good with them," as if my sacrifice was a compliment instead of a chain. One night, she came home grinning, Blake behind her with pizza, and announced she was pregnant again. A fifth child. My insides nodded, but I forced a smile as they celebrated. Over dinner, they dropped the Real bomb. They wanted me to quit the coffee shop and dedicate myself full-time to the kids, plus chip in $300 a month for rent. My pulse thundered. I was already working myself raw, and now they wanted money too? I left the table, shaking with anger, and confided in my best friend Tara the next day. "They're using you," she said, blunt as always. "You're not their mom. You're drowning." Her words rang like a siren. I couldn't deny the truth anymore. Cheryl and Blake weren't asking. They were demanding my life. Days turned into battles of guilt and manipulation. Cheryl complained I wasn't pulling my weight. Blake smirked about selling my bakery equipment to help with expenses, and I felt myself disappearing. When Logan noticed my late-night laptop sessions and asked quietly if I was okay, I realized the kids saw it all. They knew who was holding the family together. That night, I started scrolling through rental listings. If Cheryl wanted $300 a month, I'd rather spend it on a place of my own. The thought terrified me, but it also lit a spark I hadn't felt in years. Slowly, carefully, I began preparing the kids. Logan first, teaching him grocery lists and simple meals. He snapped that I was leaving because of Mom, but I told him I just needed space. Ellie asked if it was because they were too much, and I held her tight, promising it wasn't. With Hunter and Nora, it was harder. Hunter fretted about his science projects. Nora begged me to keep braiding her hair, but I reassured them I'd never disappear. I visited tiny apartments downtown, ran numbers until my head spun, and decided I could make it work if I lived lean. Cheryl noticed my distance and mocked me for planning to bail, but I stayed quiet. I wasn't going to fight on her terms anymore. Eventually, I signed a lease for a small studio, a mattress, a desk, and my sketches, and moved out quietly, telling the kids I'd still be there for them. For a moment, I breathed again, free in my own space, until the storm followed me. 3 days later, the police called. Cheryl had accused me of stealing $500 and trashing her house. My stomach dropped as I arrived to officers, and Cheryl shrieking that I'd broken the washer and ripped the sofa. But when the officers inspected, they found wear and tear, old stains, and no proof. Cheryl floundered. Then Logan stepped in, his voice steady. He told them the sofa had been torn for months, the washer had broken weeks ago, and the missing money was gone to groceries. "Alyssa's been more of a parent than Mom," he said, his jaw tight. Cheryl snapped at him, but his words carried the weight of truth. The officers dismissed the claims and warned Cheryl against false reports. As they left, I pulled Logan aside and whispered that he didn't have to defend me, but he shrugged. "You don't deserve this," he said. My chest ached with both pride and heartbreak. That night I called Tara, still shaking. Cheryl had tried to destroy me, but Logan had shielded me instead. I swore then I was done being her scapegoat. I was free, or so I thought. 2 weeks later, Logan's shaky voice came through the phone. Mom's in the hospital. The kids are freaking out. My coffee mug froze halfway to my lips. Whatever Cheryl had done to me, the kids didn't deserve this. At the hospital, Dr. Patel explained Cheryl's pregnancy complications. She'd need strict bed rest, maybe until delivery. I found her pale and quiet and she whispered, "The kids need you." My heart battled itself. I couldn't go back, but I couldn't leave the kids adrift either. So I set the terms myself. I'd help, but only for 3 months, only for them, and I kept my apartment and job. Cheryl, too tired to argue, nodded. It was the first time I'd held power in years. Back at the house, the storm had already begun. Dishes piled in the sink, laundry overflowed, homework lay scattered, and Blake was nowhere to be found. When he did appear, it was with a beer in hand before vanishing into the garage. The kids were unraveling. Ellie clung to me, whispering, "Is Mom okay?" Hunter asked who would help with his projects. Nora refused to sleep alone, and Logan clenched his fists trying to hold himself together. I refused to slip into old patterns. Instead of carrying everything, I taught Logan and Ellie to divide chores, laundry for him, dishes for her, while Hunter and Nora managed small tasks. I came by after my coffee shop shifts, made dinner, checked homework, but every night I returned to my studio. When Ellie begged me to stay overnight, I knelt beside her and told her the truth. I need my own space. Her eyes brimmed with sadness, but I held firm. Blake's distance grew worse. He missed Nora's school play, broke promises without apology, and Logan muttered bitterly, "He's checked out. Always has been." He wasn't wrong. The family was falling apart, and I couldn't fix it, only soften the blows. Tara called to warn me not to get pulled back in, and I promised her I had boundaries now. 3 months passed like that, me straddling 2 worlds, holding the kids steady while slowly reclaiming myself. When Cheryl came home with a newborn in her arms, I kept my promise. Standing in that kitchen, I told her I was done. I love the kids, but I can't be part of this anymore. You're their mom. Step up. Her eyes narrowed, her voice sharp. You're abandoning us again. But I didn't flinch. I'd already given years of my life. I walked away, this time for good. Still, I couldn't abandon the kids completely. I called Tara, asking her to be their lifeline. She agreed without hesitation, and I started sending small amounts from my paycheck for school supplies and groceries. Tara organized video calls so I could tutor Logan in algebra, help Ellie with essays, cheer Hunter's science projects, and tell Nora bedtime stories over the phone. It wasn't the same, but it kept us connected without Cheryl's chaos poisoning me again. Meanwhile, Cheryl's world collapsed. She lost her job from missed shifts, Blake packed a bag and disappeared, and neighbors stopped visiting, tired of the drama. The kids struggled, but through Tara's updates and my quiet support, they kept pushing forward. Logan texted me late one night, admitting, "Mom's not trying." He sounded older than his years, and I urged him to focus on school, promising I'd always be there, just not in that house. My own life finally began to bloom. Freelance design jobs trickled in, first a logo, then a website, then a full branding package. My tiny studio filled with mood boards and sketches, and for the first time I felt the thrill of building something mine. The day a client handed me $500 for a project, I nearly cried. It was more than a week of coffee shop shifts. Soon I quit that job entirely, pouring myself into design, each late night spent shaping a future that was finally my own. Cheryl tried to claw back control, asking about me through Tara, claiming I owed her. But I laughed bitterly. She couldn't guilt me anymore, not after the lies, the police call, the years lost. I told Tara to shield me from her, and focused only on the kids. For Ellie's birthday, I mailed her a sketchbook. She sent me a drawing of us labeled Best Aunt. Hunter called to boast about a science fair win. Nora still begged for stories, and Logan, though quieter, carried his siblings with a strength that broke and inspired me. I kept sending what little I could, $50 here, $20 there, because even from a distance, I was determined to be their steady hand. And slowly, I realized the truth. I wasn't abandoning them. I was showing them how to fight for themselves, how to choose a life instead of being trapped by one. Sitting at my desk one evening, sketches spread out under the glow of my laptop, I felt pride pulse through me. I had built this life from nothing, clawed it from sacrifice and betrayal, and no one, least of all Cheryl, could take it away.